Welcome back. This is the second video in our series on what to do with your left hand. I tried this out on a few of my adult students who were trying to get out of the automated mode on their digital pianos and keyboards. And a lot of my piano students who are reading bass clef are now wanting to play with chords and don't know what to do with their left hand after they play the basic chords. So I've spent the last few months making a plan and trying it out on these students to see if it works. We started from scratch, like they didn't know anything. They knew the basic chords and that was it. So because I'm hoping that all of you learned your chords now, if you haven't, you can get my book, and this is a commercial because I feel it's really important to learn about chords and how they're structured. So if you don't have this book, I would really recommend ordering it from sacramentomusicgroup.com, which is our website, and start studying along with what we're doing. So when you're playing the piano, make sure that you know the structure of the chords. If I ask you how to spell a C chord, then you would say C, E, G, and say it with confidence. So this week we're going to talk about rolling the chords. Last week we just played them, and I called them clunky chords. Just play all three notes at the same time, and it sounds very much like a beginner. Now, if you don't want to sound like a beginner and you want to start venturing out into something a little more interesting, this week we're going to talk about rolling the chords. So let's get started. Okay, now we've talked about just hitting a chord in the root position. Root meaning the name of the chord is on the bottom. So if it's a C chord, your little finger will always be on C, and your third finger recommended for E, and your second finger recommended for G, and this week we're going to add that octave note on top. Alright, if you're playing a song in 4/4 time, you have 4 beats in a measure. So we're going to play one note, and that octave, it's called an octave chord. We're going to play one note for each beat. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4 that we did in lesson 1, now we're going to play only one note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And if you hold the pedal down, the damper pedal, G chord, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3. Now you can practice all the chords. Alright, so we're going to play Ode to Joy. Same paper as last week. You can download it on the internet, sacramentomusicgroup.com. And every time there's a dot, you're going to play a note that's in the chord. So the first beat gets a C for a C chord, the second beat gets an E, the third beat gets a G, and the fourth beat gets a C note an octave higher. So if I move up here so you can see it better, you can go C, E, G. All right? So now we're going to play Ode to Joy. Instead of this, now we're going to do this. G chord, C, Now, at the end of this song, this G chord only has 2 counts, so you just play 2 notes of the G chord, and then you change to the C. So, if you're playing a 3/4 time song, obviously you're not going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. You're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. brave, you can go at the end of the song, you can do 2 sets of chords that you roll. Whoops, sorry. Now, my music teacher and all music teachers call this an arpeggio. An arpeggio is 3 chords and a ding. So what you're going to do is you'll play a left hand, hold the pedal down, C chord with your left hand, C chord with your right hand, left hand over, and then ding. Okay, so that's kind of a fun ending for songs. You just go. Then you can practice going backwards. It's a good idea maybe to just say the name of the notes in the chord while you're doing it. It's a great way to learn to spell them. C, E, G, C, E, G, C, E, G, C. G, B, D, G, B, D, G, B, D. And so forth. So you can practice all of your chords as either a 4-note octave, a 3-note, you can do 3-note arpeggio, and you can block those arpeggios like this. And back. So these exercises are in the chord book that I have, which is a necessity for being able to do all of this. So the first aid chord book is available on our website. I know it sounds like I'm doing a commercial, but unless you really understand how the chords are formed, you'll be able to do this with basic chords, but later on we're going to add some 7th chords or 6th. So you need to really understand how to form them and how they're made with the scales. So this week, all you have to do now is take Ode to Joy and play. Alright, and you notice I'm playing the melody an octave higher. If I don't, you can go down to the G chord, and you can play Ode to Joy here. That's fine, but I kind of like the chords played as high as I can get them. I very rarely go above E here because it gets really too high. So once you get below this G chord, the chords start getting really muddy. So if I'm playing a blocked chord, I usually play it right below middle C and move my melody up an octave. You don't want to get too high or go too low. So just try to figure out, and sometimes if your right hand is going to run into your left hand, just let go of the note in the chord so your melody can have it. It's fine. So my point is, when you're playing the piano, you can learn basic structures and rules like we're doing here, but how do you know if it's right? Well, the best way to know if it's right is if it sounds good. And then you say, well, if it sounds good to who? I don't have a teacher sitting next to me, so how will I know? Well, my opinion is, if it sounds good to you, it's right. So enjoy where you're at on the way to where you're going, and just try this week, just a 4-beat rolling chord. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Just sit down at the piano, and even if you're a little more advanced and you're feeling like, well, I don't really need this, you really do need this. Like everything you'll try, whether it's guitar or learning how to run a race, you have to start with the basics and work your way up. So if you've never really started from scratch and started to learn any project from the bottom up, this is the time to do it on the piano. So this week, just practice playing your chords, running some arpeggios, and practice those the arpeggios up and down and learning how to spell the chords. And we'll see you next time.